Well, Steven, thank you so much for joining me on Behind the Art. I know we've met like maybe like 6 years ago, I believe, at the Catalyst in Santa Cruz. But prior to that, I know you have some mutual friends of mine, and I'm surprised it took us this long to actually meet because we're very kind of similar. We're both kind of musicians, artists slash. But yeah, man, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Yeah, we Santa Cruz is a really small town, so like I feel it's big, but it's small. So I feel like if you know certain people, they're gonna know certain people that you know. So yeah, especially in the music scene and like the Catalyst, you're gonna run into like a bunch of people that you either played shows with or go to shows with and all that good stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I think you play, or my friend Chris Thomas played drums for, I think, Requiem, I believe.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I think I came to know of you. And then I was like, oh, who is this guy? And then I kind of inquired a little bit, and I found out you're a really amazing artist. And I was like, oh shit, like this
Thank
dude
you.
knows how to draw. And sure enough, we're here chatting away.
It's all meant to be. It's like clicked. It's like 6 years of finally doing the interview.
Totally. So just tell me, like, you can go as far back as you want, but when did you kind of start doing art as a career? Or you can even go back to when you were a kid, and whichever you want to do.
I started honestly back when I can even walk. Before I can walk, I started collecting comic books, and the first thing that I do remember is like literally opening comics and like tracing, trying to mimic my favorite artists. I think I even learned how to read through comics. So comic books were something extremely special to me growing up. I moved on after that to manga, and I was collecting manga and watching manga films back in like the mid 80s, back when Akira and all that was Ghost in the Shell and all that stuff. Before, it was cool to like manga. Like all of a sudden now it's like manga explosion. Everybody, like, it's like in Hot Topics and everywhere. Even my fiance's daughter, who's 9 years old, is like obsessed with manga now. The whole K-pop, Demon Hunter, Demons, whatever it's called. And
Oh yeah, that one on Netflix.
yeah, like it's just crazy. But so comic books is pretty much what like raised me. And then I just started drawing and just doodling, and I was like hidden in the back of the class, just doodling in his book and doodling on paper and not paying attention. And then it moved on to people like noticing, going, oh wow, you can draw me a picture. And I started drawing, and I started noticing how people like kind of flocked, to artists, like, oh, Steve's the artist guy, and then, junior high, I got, nominated for like, most likely like, to succeed in art. Same for like high school. And you start realizing that it was something I could maybe do like as a living. I had no idea where it would take me, honestly. It wasn't until my senior year in high school, my aunt, who works in the movie industry, she had connections, which is, kind of weird to say, but not embarrassing, but you kind of have to know people in the Hollywood industry to, snooze. You kind of have to make your way up. And she had contacts who were able to get me into internships at Hanna-Barbera, which at the time was just changed the name to the Cartoon Network. And I started interning at Cartoon Network. I was fresh out of high school, and then did that for a while, and was just fell in love with like cartoons, and just realizing this is like something amazing. I moved from Santa Cruz, California to Los Angeles the next day after I graduated high school. So I was
okay, wow. All right.
I was in a different city, had my own apartment, like living by myself, no friends, and which I think was a good thing at the time, because all I would do was go to college, do my courses, come home, intern for a few hours, come home, and just draw for the rest of the night. That's all I would do, because there was really nothing else to do. I didn't have friends, really. I didn't have parties to go to. It wasn't until then I moved on to Disney as an intern, and then Buena Vista Visual Effects, kind of moving up the ranks, which is the awesome thing about being an intern, because if there's any job available, usually interns the first one, like, hey, this guy's worked here for 7 months, 8 months, a year, like, let's give him a try. And then I kind of lucked out again. I had a friend who worked on the Tales of the Crypt TV show, and they lost one of their storyboard artists, who moved on to some other show. And he called me and he said, I was looking for a storyboard artist at the time. And I couldn't believe it. I mean, I grew up on Tales of the Crypt as well. Like, I was that kid.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I love that show. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it was HBO. It wouldn't go on till 11, and it was just like something so cool about it, like so dark, and especially when you're a child, like it was so scary. The Crypt Keeper, and all that good stuff. So I worked on the final season, and then I worked on the movie Demon Knight, Tales from the
Oh
Crypt,
wow.
Demon Knight, and then from then on, I just started working in the movie industry. I started getting other jobs, and by that time, I started meeting more people, meeting friends. I moved to Malibu, met a bunch of cool kids that were starting a ska punk band called Monster Zero, and the whole music thing kind of started like literally out of nowhere. Because through all from 0 to 19, I listened to punk and ska and reggae, and that was my jam. Like in the car, I'd be blasting, that kind of music. But I never thought like, oh yeah, one day I'm going to be in a band and be a lead singer. Like, I never ever thought that. And then they needed a singer, and they were doing Sublime covers at a party, and I was at a party with them, and they happened to almost like karaoke. They were doing, hey, does anybody know Santa Maria? Does anybody know? And I was like, I do. And then I went in, I sang one of the songs, and they after the party the next day, I think one of them ran to me in a coffee shop and was like, dude, we were looking for a singer, and like we really want you to try out. You're really good. I was like, what? Like, what are you talking about? But I did, and the rest is history. I joined, and I was in like a 9-piece ska band. It was crazy, and we played a bunch of shows, and that's how what kind of got me to music and music at the same time. And from then on, everything kind of just like exploded after that.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you kind of what came first, because it's actually kind of similar. Like your story is similar to me with the whole music thing, is because I had older siblings who were musicians who played guitar, and then my family, we moved to India,
Oh,
and
wow.
my brother started a band, and I just sort of like taught myself how to play the drums, and then, but I never considered myself a drummer. I always considered myself someone who is playing the drums for a
Yeah.
band, but not like, I never really was like, I'm the greatest musician of all time. But
Yeah, I was never, oh, I'm a great singer. Well, I mean, I did do musical theater as a kid. Like I guess I kind of missed that, but it wasn't something where when I was doing musical theater, I was like, one day I'm going to be, in the theater, and I'm going to be a singer. Like it was kind of just like my mom threw me into it. I was a really shy kid growing up. And I had to overcome a lot of stuff. I had to overcome dyslexia. I had to overcome a major lisp. I smashed my 2 front teeth at an early age, and it turned into a really really bad lisp. And I had to go to special classes for it. And singing was something I can do, where when I started singing, the lisp went away, and it gave me confidence. And especially when I started doing musical theater, and we were doing big productions like the college here. I was like 9 years old doing Tommy, and then with Gypsy and a Chorus Line and all these other like musicals. And I just started like, it wasn't necessarily like the singing, it was just like the confidence and being in front of a crowd and not being afraid, especially when you're young and kids are making fun of you all the time because you're lisp and you're, all that stuff. So, that's the cool thing about music, and gives you confidence.
yeah, I mean, for me, it definitely, because like when I moved back from India to Santa Cruz, the Santa Cruz area, that's where I met, Neil Engelhaupt, and he was,
Yeah.
so we basically formed Nothing Left, but it was like we pretty much stayed local.
Yeah,
Now,
nothing left.
yeah, I'm surprised like we never crossed paths, because I know I
Yeah.
Am Ghost kind of. Did you guys start in Santa Cruz
No,
or?
after Malibu, me and my guitarist at the time decided that we wanted to move on to Long Beach, California, because we wanted to get a house together. And obviously Malibu, if you're if you know about Malibu, it's $1 million, $1 billion houses out there. So we moved to Long Beach, and we got a house, and we turned our garage into a studio, like legit, like soundproofed everything, and built it. And we were in a band called Fallout, a punk band. And we kind of, at the time, it was my first kind of like, Monster Zero was like the fun band. It was like the 9-piece ska band. We played, everybody in the locally would show up, but it was like a party. We'd go back and party at the house, but it was never like, we're going to take this seriously. Like, we really didn't practice a lot. Like, it was more like just to be fun. Fallout was my first, like, all right, I'm going to try to make legit, like, promote and legit practice. And So after Fallout, I mean, it's just like anybody. You start a bunch of stupid bands growing up. Like Fallout turned into the Silence, and after the Silence went on for a while, that was the second band that I was in that actually kind of blew up locally in the Orange County scene. I mean, that was pretty much the only area we were big in. We did a bunch of tours. We toured like a few times with Goldfinger and Story of the Year and Seosin. We did a couple of national tours with them. We were actually working with John Feldman at the time. He would like come to our practices. He was like kind of after he worked with like Story of the Year and The Used, he was working with us. But then that band broke up, and then I Am Ghost came to about because of the breakup, and then the rest is history with that. That band was everything I learned from the Silence, Fallout, Monster Zero. It's like everything that I learned to do and not to do was because of those bands, which is good because you need that. You need to, like, you need to know what is right and what is wrong. And if you don't just try it. I mean, especially with the Silence, that was like some of the coolest memories. But also I learned like who to be in a band with and what kind of musicians to work with and image and promotion and how to sell yourself. And that's all, that's especially the Hollywood, Los Angeles scene back then. Like it was the emo scene, you want to call it, 2005. Like it was almost like Substance was like, it was more like your image, the more than anything at the time, the emo scene, like how cool you looked and all that stuff. So I had to learn how to do that because the bands before did not give an F about image. They just wanted we're a punk band and we'll just show up in our pajamas and play. And that's what we did. But then we started realizing, well, why is anybody coming to our shows? Like maybe because we're not dressing up and we're not taking this seriously. So, Monster Zero, greatest time ever. Fallout, I love you. Silence, I love you. But I Am Ghost is what it was, kind of like the accumulation of everything.
Yeah, I remember that time well because I was sort of like it was weird because I'm like a kind of a big metalhead. Like I grew up with like Iron Maiden, Metallica, Judas Priest. So when I joined Nothing Left, it was like kind of more pop punk or kind of more like Blink 182 or some 41 style. And like I was like hesitant because I was like, I want to be in a metal band. I don't want to be in like, but playing with everybody, it just like didn't really matter. And I think I kind of saw that with the whole image thing because we were struggling with that as well. Like we need to do guitar spins or we need to wear like ties or do something to kind of like make us feel like a band.
Wearing like a trucker hat in like board shorts, and then the other guy would be like dressed like me, all gothic with eyeliner, and the next guy looks like he is in a all bright colors and it should be in a Less Than Jake or something. And sometimes it works. Like I mean, there's bands that don't look cool at all that make it and are awesome, but yeah, you kind of at that time it seemed like once you had to create an image because that seemed to capture the kids, which was what the whole emo scene was about. Like if you're into the emo scene back in 2005, the age limit was like who were coming at least to our shows. If you looked in the crowd of I Am Ghost fans, I mean, it was legit from like 12 years old to maybe like 22. Like that was it.
Yeah.
Like, you weren't going to come across any 40-year-olds at an I Am Ghost show. Maybe occasionally you would, like a mom would like be in the crowd with their son or daughter, but it was kids and you had to kind of like figure out like what they're all about. So
yeah, now it's sort of the infancy of like social media with like MySpace and like having promoting, and I don't know, it was like a different time because like people were online, but they knew when to like step away from it. It was like before smartphones and it was like there was always a disconnect between like internet life and real life, and people go to shows, enjoy music. Now it's like it's hell bent to get anybody to go to a show, or if there's even any venues to play music anymore. I mean, it's like definitely there's a lack of places, venues to play.
Yeah, if you look at like if I ever look at old footage of I Am Ghost, like and show like the crowd, all moving around and whatever, the one thing you'll notice is like not one cell phone in the air there because it was back in 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10. I mean, we had flip phones, but like the cameras sucked and there were pretty much the video footage was crap. But I think that was a good thing because it kept the kids immersive and they just were living in the moment and they would mosh, stage dive. I mean, I actually just saw the new Warped Tour 2025 footage on YouTube that happened in Long Beach. It was like the new Warped Tour, and I was so like just bummed out. They would just like show the band and pan to the crowd, and it'd be like 12,000 people just sitting there, like all their phones in the air, just like no one moving, no one moshing, no, maybe occasional kid in the front, like little stage diver, and then he'll flop down. But I mean, if you look at footage from that other area where we grew up, I mean, there was no one sitting down, there was no one standing there, there was no hands in the air. And so I don't know, I was just like, wow, what a boring freaking like festival. Like I mean, I watched some big acts too, that it wasn't just some like no-name bands that were playing. These are massive bands, and the crowd was just sitting there, standing there with their phones in the air. And I was just like, I mean, I'm kind of glad I grew up in that era and just kind of retired after that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think we kind of like lucked out just being kind of born, you know, relatively around the same time. Because, yeah, I mean, I told, you know, like even that little pocket of 3 or 4 years when I was playing music, you know, we had our challenges, obviously, but I always look back fondly and go like, oh, that was a good time, that was fun. Like people were actually stoked to go to our shows. But now it's just like there's this disconnect, and you know, people are just
You've
very.
Been to a show at the Catalyst recently? I have. How sad is it?
Oh, yeah. Actually, I hear they're closing down or getting new owners or something. Like I'm not surprised.
But yeah, I don't see that place surviving another like 5 years, to be honest. Which would be really sad, because I don't know where else any bands are going to play around here. I mean, I don't know. All the cool venues in like San Jose and San Francisco are gone. There used to be a real cool place. I mean, I lived in LA for a long time, like almost 15 years. But when I came back, when I toured a lot, we would come up the coast. We never played Santa Cruz, which is just weird. But there were some really cool venues like in San Jose, like the Cactus Club was really cool. Slim's in San Francisco was cool. And there's all these other venues, and they're all gone. Like they've been gone for years. And it's like, so I feel bad for bands. Like I don't know what, I even know what I would do if I started a band right now. I don't know where we would play. I don't know how we get people to show up. I don't know what.
Yeah, honestly, I don't either. That's kind of why I, you know, the last band I was in was about 10 years, or actually 12 years ago, before my son was born, and like I lost interest, and I think I just kind of got burnt out, because you know, being in a band is like a marriage. You have to like constantly
with 5 people.
Try to like work things out, and like it just at some point you're just like, dude, I'm tired of having to do this and work with other people, and just like...
Now, that's the number one issue. The reason I never stopped playing music, because I didn't love music or I didn't love performing. I love performing. One of the coolest things ever is to walk on stage and sing and have people singing back your lyrics or whatever. But everything else about bands to me just is terrible and sucks. Like you said, you know, having to promote yourself and having to post videos and having to have a social media presence and having content all the time. And I just feel bad for these bands that are doing it, because I watch them and they're just like they're you can just see they're trying hard. Like every day they're trying to find content, and they're doing like TikTok videos and dancing, cool, like comedy sketches. And I'm like, are you in a band or are you a freaking comedian? Like, I don't get it. Like, there was something really cool about when we grew up, not knowing what our favorite artists were doing. Like, I'm glad I didn't know what like Davey Havok was doing from AFI. I'm glad I didn't know what like, you know, Gerard Way of My Chemical Romance was like had for breakfast. Like, they were mysterious. Like, you saw them at the show and you were like, holy shit, that's blah, blah, blah. And then they would disappear and go back in the bus, and you never saw them until they came back in your city, and you were just like, that was awesome. But now like you literally can find your favorite singer, go to their actual profile Instagram page, and you can see what they did that day, you know, on a story or something, which I guess is cool. But again, the whole mystery is gone. And I kind of like how mysterious musicians were back in the day.
Yeah, I agree. There's a little bit of a like, even I'm sure have like when you, so like being a tour, like kind of being signed and being in like a bigger band, did that help like your art career at all? Like, did you get more clients because like you were in I Am Ghost? Did that help like, legitimate or
For the
legitimatize or
for the 6 years that I was in I Am Go, or 5 years, whatever, how long we toured, once we got signed to Epitaph Records, we got signed after our third show ever. So we were signed right away. And we were literally, after we got signed, we were on tour for literally 300 days a year for 5 years straight.
Oh wow, okay.
So we missed a lot of cool stuff. Like I missed birthdays and funerals and friends getting married and all that stuff. But I really didn't, after that 5 year period, I didn't do much drawing, honestly, like, which is really sad. Like I always had like a sketch pad on the tour bus and stuff, but I never really, I kind of stopped and just was like focusing on the band. But as soon as the band, broke up, I immediately was like, well, what am I going to do now? Like, I'm not, I was an artist first, and then I got signed to this major label, and I, was able to make a living off it for a while. And then now what am I going to do? And then I decided, you know what, I don't want to go back to like a normal 9 to 5 job, because it's really hard to go from a touring musician where you can wake up whenever you want, you go to bed wherever you want, and you can look however you want, to like a 9 to 5 job. So I started my own company. I kind of started doing what you're doing. I started doing graphic design, and having the back at the time, having the background of I Am Ghost definitely got me clients from bands that were looking for artwork because they knew me, because I just knew them, like just touring a lot and hanging out with them at Warped Tour and stuff. And or people that just liked my music would hit me up, like they want book covers done and all that good stuff. And it definitely kept me busy for a couple years after I Am Ghost. But as we will probably talk about, there's a reason why I don't do graphic design anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I've come to because like on my day job I do a lot of like just like ad stuff, but it's like fun. It's still involved in the music industry, but it's like the fun kind of graphic design. It isn't like the. But yeah, typically I'm more of an artist, I would say, than the graphic designer, because I'd rather have something look cool than be functional. Like I never think about, is this font gonna like blend in with the too much or all of the colors.
The biggest problem is, I think you might agree, the hardest part about being a graphic designer and working for yourself and dealing with other people is we have our own, everybody has their own thing of what they think is cool and what they think it looks good. Everybody has a different opinion. So when you design people's stuff, you're trying to, as hard as you can, to go by talking to them and reading their synopsis, and you're trying your hardest to go, okay, I think this is what they want. But you're always in the back of your head going, well, if they're hiring me because they like my style too. It's not just, because I always thought I had a certain style, but what I think looks really cool doesn't necessarily mean other people thought looked cool. So It was really hard. It was just constantly butting heads, and especially, like you probably, have worked with some terrible clients. And I would say the majority of people I've worked with, 80%, 85% have been amazing, like really cool. Like normally like, yeah, just do whatever. But the 15% that I had to work with is like the legit reason why I stopped doing it.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you, like, do you prefer like when a band lets you kind of just go wild, or do you like to kind of have more of like what they want and then you kind of interpret it? I mean, I guess you kind of answered that already, but
yeah, well, that's the thing. If I ever do, at my early days when I first started my own company, I would just go crazy and I would just like almost send it to them like almost finished, and then a lot of times like, yeah, that's awesome, but then it'd be like, oh, it is cool, but we weren't really thinking, this is blah blah blah, can you change this? And you're like, fuck, I should have just like maybe sent it to them a little less intense, or I should have put so much work into it. So I started learning like setting sketches first, like, all right, here's a rough sketch, is this what you're looking for? And yeah, kind of and then and you kind of get the mock done, and then until you're like, all right, we agree this is what you want, right? Yes, this is what I want. And then I would get more into it, but I always send them steps, like and it sucks because when you work with people especially people that are not in like you know, the arts industry, like me and you, that can kind of see like where it's going. They just see it and they're like, they think it's finished. So when you send them like a half done thing, but it's like not been rendered, there's no light and shadow. It's just, but I just don't want to go more forward until I know this is right. They're like all bummed. They're like, oh yeah, it looks, it's. Are you gonna put more shadow in the face? I'm like, yeah, of course. I haven't even done her hair yet. Like, and they just don't see the big picture, and you're constantly having to like talk to them like they're children. And I just got to the point where, and I'm sure you know, like when you work for yourself, you're never like free. Like I would get text messages, emails like 2 a.m, like, yeah, I saw your mock. Can you change the hair from purple to green? And instead of long hair, wavy, can you make it short and curly? And you're like we can just push a button and go short and curly red, like, and it just like appears. Like they don't understand. Like we have to re-render everything, like delete layers. We have to redo everything. And I was working like 7 days a week, like, and it sucks because there's 2 ways to go about it. You can either give them a lump sum, like, all right, I can do this whole CD cover like for $1,000, you know, like finished, or I can charge you hourly, you know, but hourly, I'm going to every day, you know, I'll let you know how many hours I work on it. And it can get more costly if I do that, you know. Oh, no, just $1,000. Like, okay, cool. And then, but then they want a million changes. By the end of the day, we've worked on it for 57 hours. So you've made like roughly $5.70 an hour.
Yep.
You worked on it. And I was just like, wow, I worked on this person's cover for like a month and I got paid $1,000. Like, that's like, if you think about it, like, like, how do you pay your rent with that? Like, you know, you have to take on like 4 or 5 people, and it's hard to like, so it was just hard. It was just really, I always give it to people like you and other, you know, graphic designers that are like still doing it and like able to have more than one client at a time. Cause I couldn't do it. Like I had to take on one client, finish it, and then move on to somebody else. I could never do the whole 3 clients at 3 times. You know, it just, yeah, it was too much for me. So I don't know. Something about it was just too much for me.
So when you worked for like HBO or Disney or like as an intern, like did that ever lead to like a more permanent work, or was it just kind of temporary? And then like, do you kind of miss having that steady paycheck as opposed to, you know, having to kind of be a freelancer and sort of make things on your own?
When you work for, so when I first started out, I was doing mostly bands and people's book covers and logo designs. Like people, you know, a lot of bands at the time were using the stage scrims for behind their band. So I was designing a lot of those for them because I just knew the correct way it should look and pop. And I did a lot of those. And then I started working for the larger companies like HBO and Showtime and all that stuff. And that was more like character designs or like movies and stuff. And I always loved, yeah, it was all behind the scenes, but it was awesome because it was like a legit paycheck. It was like, all right, for the next 2 months, 3 months, I'll actually be getting paid good money. But again, it's freelance work. So once the project's finished, you're done and you have to move on and you have to find other work. And you have to find others, and you're just hoping that another studio is going to grab you. Sometimes I mean, there was a time where for like a year straight, I had constant work from studios. So I was doing good. But then there was like a lull. I remember there was like 5-6 months where it was right before COVID hit. You know, it was right when COVID hit where I couldn't get
2019-20. Yeah, it was like early 2020. Yeah.
That was the last year I did graphic design. So I've been out of the game for 5 years, but yeah, once COVID hit, everything closed down. All production on every movie, TV series, cartoon was shut down. So there's no work for anybody. So I had to just kind of like adapt. And, you know, that's kind of how I started working on my book, and started to going, well, I don't have anything else to do. Like no one was working, can't leave the house. So I'm going to start writing. And I started writing Dear Mother Bones. Like literally Dear Mother Bones came out of COVID. Like I had nothing else to do, which is kind of cool.
So is this like your first time writing? Like you just like decided I'm going to write a book, or did you dabble in writing
I dabbled.
previously.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote all the lyrics for all my bands. I was like the main lyricist. I kind of handled all that. I did do a really short kind of graphic novel called Lovers and Kings years ago, but it was kind of like I just pressed like 250 copies, and once they sold out, like I didn't make any more. And I just that was the time I was doing graphic design full time, so I just didn't have time to be an artist and draw my own book and try to find work from other clients and make a living. But once COVID hit, and you have nothing to do all day, you just are like you get kind of like bored, and you're just like, well, I have 8 hours to just sit here and I'm gonna write. And I consider myself a writer. I've written a lot of stuff on my own. So I read a lot. I mean, there was a time where I was reading a book a week. So I'm an avid reader, and I have over 2,000 comic books. So I collect comics, and I've read comics my whole life. So I never thought I would ever put out a novel. I didn't know where it was going to go until I just kept writing and writing. And after a year, it was like, it went from 30 pages to finally, I think it's up to almost 500 pages. The first book.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. The first book is almost 550 pages for the first book. And it's done. It's just being edited right now. For me, the only thing I at the time, like I announced that I got surgery on my eyes, or my eye. I got the other surgery later.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot about that. Looking
So
good though.
Yeah, can't tell.
I can't.
I can see you now. Like, yeah, cataracts is no joke, especially if you have severe cataracts. Like it is like the worst thing ever if you're trying to see and be and like see at a computer or draw.
Yeah.
Like, so. And then once the book was finished writing, I was like, well, maybe I'll draw the cover. And I did. And I was like, well, maybe I'll do the table of contents. We'll have some artwork. And I did the table. And I started writing, oh, maybe each chapter will have a piece of artwork for me. And then, so now it's just kind of grown into like a book / like, it's not like a graphic novel or anything. It's an actual novel, but it has a lot of artwork, which I think is cool because it's always good to try to do new things to get kids to like want to read now, pick up a book.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I've always been drawn to like graphic novels, especially like the artists that kind of like not your typical comic book style of art, more like, like your Alex Ross or like your Dave McKean, where it's like more painterly.
Yeah.
Your style in particular, I know you mentioned online that like Sam Keith was like one of your inspirations. Yeah. Like now that you said that, I was like looking at your artwork and I was like, yeah, there definitely is a like Sam Keith and like even like Todd McFarlane kind of.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Todd McFarlane was that was the guy when I was a kid, when I was like, I don't know, 12, 11, collecting Spider-Man, and I would copy all his covers. Like I would sit there and just look how he did the eyes and how he would do, crazy movements with the fingers and the detail in the webs and all that. And that's the thing about me, like, and especially Sam Keith. I've always been drawn to artists that not necessarily draw well, like have like perfect anatomy. There's artists out there like Jim Lee that you see, it's like perfect anatomy, perfect, face. And you're just like, all right, this guy knows how to draw like anatomy. But I've always been like more into like the crazy artists that are just like insane looking and maybe don't draw bodies very well or have a really like Sam Keith, when he draws bodies, are hilarious. Like nothing looks right, and the big belly, and they'll be like
big old hands.
Yeah, like you could just tell he doesn't care though, because it's not about the anatomy necessarily. I mean, you have to know a little bit about anatomy to make it look correct, but it's more about like the art, and I've always been drawn to that. I mean, I went and did college and did the whole, how to learn how to draw anatomy and life drawing and all that stuff. So I did that, and that's the first thing you got to learn. But yeah, I've always been into crazy artists like that,
So when you say college, was it like art college, or was it just like community college that you sort of took some courses?
I went to Pierce College in LA. So to intern anywhere in LA at the time, you had to also go to college to get college credit. So I couldn't even intern at Disney if I want, unless I was taking college courses. So while taking college courses, majority was stuff that was just like, I took like life drawing, and I took like painting, and I took like movie, like literally there's this one class. It was like like it was like a movie class, like how to be a director, how to be, you know, like learn the business. But like legit, all we did was we'd show up and they would just play movies. We would just like sit there and watch like we watch like Steven Spielberg movies, and at the end or movie, and then at the end we would talk about Steven Spielberg and how he, and then next day it would be, you know, Apocalypse Now, and we talk about that. And but it was like literally, it was like the easiest class. You just sit there and watch a movie, and then they would just discuss it after. It was like so stupid. Like, I mean, I didn't learn anything. Like, it was fun. I mean, it was cool. You got college course class credit, so that's all that mattered at the time. But I definitely took a lot of art classes, and again, it was like life drawing. You would literally have like a nude model chilling in the front, doing poses, and you know, you sit there and you just basically sketch nude models all day. And which is funny because people think like, oh, nude models, like, oh, it's never what you think. They
Yeah, it's always like people you don't want to.
Yeah, they honestly, there's a reason for it. They don't get like a girl who's beautiful, you know, like petite, or they get like the 95-year-old woman, because you want to have the wrinkles, you want to have the belly, you want to, because that's how you learn, you know, how to, you know, it's really boring if you're drawing some guys all chiseled just sitting there like you. And yeah, every guy was 200 pounds overweight, or the woman was like 95 years old. But I mean, it was cool. You learn, and you know, you learn. Definitely, it's light and shadow. Like they shine a light somewhere, and you kind of like learn how light works, because that's another thing that a lot of artists that are starting out, they just kind of jump straight to like drawing comic books and drawing like, but you have to like start off the basics, you know, anatomy, light and shadow, and then after that, like learn, become your own style. Like that's what I think. Like,
Yeah, I think majority of comic book artists, they have a grasp of like anatomy and perspective. I mean, you kind of have to in order to like draw like, you know, buildings and all that kind of stuff. And there was one point in when I was a kid, I was like, I want to do comics, but then you find out how freaking challenging like it is to even draw. Like I used to think like, oh yeah, you just draw a comic book in a week, right? And it's like, no, like you literally draw a page in a day, like, and then it's like
it's usually a page a day.
month.
And then I've drawn comics too, and you think it's cool too, because you think it's just kind of like I mean, a lot of comic book artists kind of got away with it, like Rob Liefeld and stuff, where it's just guys like jump in the air and like slasher, like with a sword and stuff. But then when you start to do it yourself, and especially if you're depending on the story, it's a lot of it's like drawing a building in the background or a car in the background. You're like, this is kind of boring, and like I don't. And then like I'm not really. I mean, I'll be honest. Like if there's one thing I figured this out just like in the last like maybe 9 years of what I'm good at and what I'm not good at. And I think that's what a lot of artists do. And I stick to what I know and what I like. And that's why what I'm doing now is kind of like I do everything that I know that if I draw, it's what I like and what I'm good at. You're not going to see me drawing like, you know, a sports car and a city behind it. And like, you know, I don't, for one, I hate drawing cities, and two, I don't know how to draw cars. Like I could, I guess, use a reference and like look at it, but like I'm not good at that kind of stuff. I'm more organic. My characters are very kind of like highly detailed, but like insane, and like I like just getting into like the gristle of the teeth and, you know, slobber coming out, and like that's just something I like to do, you know. So I just stick to what I know I'm good at, and I know I'm not good at everything. So that's, I don't think anybody is, but
Yeah, I mean, I think all artists figure that out, like especially if you're doing like freelance working for people, like you just.
Well, you definitely have a style, bro. When I see your art, I'm like, oh, that's a Kieran. Like I can just tell like that's your style, and that's good.
Yeah, I still like it's the funniest thing. It's like I have so much work online on my website, and like people like, okay, you kind of know basically what kind of stuff, and then they'll like email me and say, hey, can you do this? And it's like, and me, I'm like, you know, I'm kind of struggling a little bit with just getting clients, so I'll just be like, maybe I could try to do like something outside my wheelhouse and see how it goes. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Like logos, like I'll do them, but I despise doing logos.
I was just about to say logos is the worst. That's what and it's funny because those actually pay well.
Yeah, they do.
Like,
Yeah.
if I'm working for like HBO or something and they need a logo for like for like, I don't know, an ad man for the title for like, just let's just say Harry Potter, and they need like the Harry Potter logo, the wand, you know, exploding at the end. Like, it's cool, but like it's so fucking boring, and it's it's almost like you just feel like after you finish, you're just like, man, did I even draw? Like, that was just like so insane. But yeah, they pay well. But yeah, I hate logos. But like you said, that's something we have to do when we're doing this business, you know.
Yeah, a lot of it also is like my own personal like if I can make something look decent and say the client will love it, but in my mind I'm like that looks like crap, but the client loves it, so I'm not going to do anything. But part of you like dies a little bit because you're just like not, when you put stuff out that's not, you're not 100% happy with. But I think that's just the name of the game, is like letting go of stuff and just moving on, because if you dwell on your own artwork, you're gonna be miserable, you know. So I've learned to sort of just be like, hey man, you
Most
like it,
artists
cool.
are I think most artists are self-conscious. I think that doesn't matter. Writers and artists are some of the most self-conscious people in the world, and that's just a fact, and that's just who we are, because we put everything we put our entire soul a lot of times into our artwork, and then when we present it to somebody, you know, and you get that comment like, oh, you know, or anything, you're kind of like, oh, because it's like your baby, you know. So I mean, don't get me started. I mean, we can go that route, but like with the whole AI thing, it, the soulless art, you want to talk about soulless art that is popping up. It's so depressing now, because just the other day I saw, I don't want to name the artist because I don't want to put him on a thing, but I follow him on Instagram, and he's really good. He's not very famous. No, he doesn't have a lot of like friends, but he posted this freaking picture that's so sick. I was like, dude, he had 13 likes, 14 likes, and it was up for like 2 weeks. And then I was like scrolling, and right after was like a legit AI crap bullshit soulless. Somebody just typed it like of some anime character, but it was obviously bullshit AI. It had like 12, 13,000 likes. I was just like, I just couldn't believe it. I was just like, this is where we're at. Like, this legit artist that probably spent 4 or 5 months on this piece, no one gives a shit about. Like, 13 likes. I liked it, obviously, so I was 14. But I mean, how it's just disheartening. You put your whole soul into something, and then you have these people now that are just like literally. I tried it one time just to see what it was all about. I don't know what site I used. This is when it first came out, like 2-3 years ago or a year ago. I wanted to see like what, I just was curious, like, how do they do this? And I just typed something in the search on, and then legit 3 seconds, it was like 1, 2, 3, boom, this piece popped up. The most bullshit soulless piece, but it was like, this is like pathetic, because these AI artists are so like, what's the word? They're so like, what's the word now? They're so like they think they're cool, like they're
Pretentious. Yeah, they're I think the argument is like, oh well, now you know, just regular people can become artists. You can't, like, they think artists are like some like big group of, oh, we're the best people in the world, but we're like, no, like you literally can draw, but you just need to draw more. You need to practice. You know what I mean? Like, everybody's an artist.
Arrogance is the word I was looking for. They're very arrogant.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
it's hilarious because you know, I am seeing a slight backlash to AI art, which recently, which I think is really cool. A lot of conventions now are kicking out people that are selling AI art. They're a lot of comic books. Most comic book companies will not hire AI. Like, anything that's AI, they'll fucking squash that shit quick. Things like Magic the Gathering and stuff, they won't hire. They will not. They still hire artists. But I think for me and you, it's like we spend our entire lives learning to draw. You know, we spend since our little child learning the anatomy, learning light and shadow, perspective, the tens of thousands of hours that we've gone through to like get to where we are. And then you have this person who it's just like it's a laziness I don't like. It's the fact like people now are just like, well, I don't need to learn line shadow. I don't need to learn how to draw anatomy. I don't need how to learn how to draw hands or faces. I can just go on this prompt and type something in, and boom, I'm an artist. And that's not what an art. And a lot of it are so arrogant too. They're like, if you don't use AI, you're gonna be lost in the system. You're gonna be lost. It's either do this or be lost in the system and be, or AI is just a tool. It's not. I'm like, no, it's not a tool. Like a tool is like Photoshop's a tool. Like you're still drawing in Photoshop. You're still creating light and shadow yourself. You're still doing like you. I don't know exactly what do you use when you do your stuff. What's the
I use like DAZ 3D to kind of render all my models, and
see that?
then
Yeah.
I'll bring it into Photoshop and kind of just
Same for
all
no, I
the
didn't
photos, textures. Yeah.
I draw like pencil and paper first, and a lot of times it might just be more simplistic. Clean it up in Photoshop, digitize it, get it all cleaned up, and then re go back into my Wacom tablet, and then get the crazy details and everything, and use the whites and the all that. But and I do use Photoshop, but I'm not using it to create 99.9% of the thing and just saying it's done. It's like that is a tool because it's helping the next step of the art piece. But if you're legit just typing a prompt and then just pushing send, and then in 10 seconds your art pops up, I don't understand how anybody in like with a brain can believe that they're an artist. Like it doesn't make any sense to me, like that people think this way, and it makes me angry because they're either one, they're stupid and they honestly believe they're artists, or two, they're just lying. Like they know they're not artists, but they're just being pretentious and being kind of trolls on purpose. Like I don't know, but
Yeah, I think I can kind of obviously people who use it like just use AI just solely to create art, and they've never done art before, and they're just starting to use it. I kind of forgive them in a sense because they're just like, oh, this is fun. It's like an app. But what really like upsets me is like when artists that I kind of grew up like loving their work, like there's
I
this
saw
artist
your
named,
post about that on Facebook. You posted, you called him out on it.
yeah, his name's Hugh Syme. He did of all Rush's album covers. He did like Megadeth. He did huge list of clients, Aerosmith. I mean, you name it. And then he did he put out Dream Theater's like latest album, and it was like just straight up like, I mean, you can tell he just used AI elements throughout the whole like booklet, and it's just like, really, dude? Like, I mean, you have the clientele, you have the respect from the your peers, and you're just going to be kind of like incognito. Oh yeah, I'm just going to use this because it's going to save me a bunch of time, and they're going to pay me the same amount of money as I would if I did it from scratch or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Even though AI is getting really good, and I'm sure in the next 5 years it might be like undetectable, because if it's already this good, imagine 5 more years. But I can still call out AI art. I can still, when I see something, go, oh, okay, this guy like did this from like scratch, and he used Photoshop for the rendering, but this is all him, and I can tell somebody who just used a prompt, and and like when I see stuff like your stuff, I'm like, that's an actual artist. Like you can tell he like did everything from scratch, and you put all the effects and everything yourself, and you built it from 0 to 100. But I can definitely still catch AI, and it's like you said, it sucks that a lot of like bands, I'm seeing bands are using like AI for their merch, their album covers. This one, I'm not going to say their name. I'm actually friends with them. They whole promo, they had a new album come out. Their album was AI. Then they used whatever the album art was. They manipulated it in AI so it was moving and stuff, but it was done like through AI. And then they had like an AI voice, like coming soon, the new blah blah blah. But it was like an AI voice. You could tell, like it was like 100%. Everything was AI. And I'm like, did you guys even write your music? Like, because you can do that now. You can write full songs now in AI. Like, so it's to the point, like, if you're going to use that much AI in your promo, I can't even trust you as a band anymore. So that's just what bums me out. I don't know, because I consider musicians artists, and I would just think they would have more respect for the medium. But I just might be the old guy who's like, back when I was young, but I just don't see it. I think that there should be a full uh lashing out at it, and it 100% steals art from other artists that have existed before me and before you, and famous artists that it still exists. Like, it just steals everything that we've ever done, that's ever been on the internet, billions and billions and billions of images. The AI is just going through all that and capturing all that art and then manipulating it and learning from it to create what you're seeing. So when you're doing like this anime, it's just taking all the famous anime artists and just basically shitting on their graves, because it's bullshit. I'm wondering one day when if I'm old and die, you'd be able to do like create like a Steve Juliano art piece, and AI, and then it's like, 'cause I'm sure one day it might happen. Like, if I get,
Well, I think the copyright, like you have like 100 years and like your work is public domain or something. Because I think that's what's happening with Batman. Batman is coming up. I think like Superman is coming up.
You see all these shitty movies on like Amazon Prime now, like Winnie the Pooh, because that became domain. So now all these like horror films with Winnie the Pooh, like there's like he's a mass murderer now, and I just saw that there's a horror film called Popeye because his domain expired after 100 years. So now there's a serial killer dressed like, it looks legit like Popeye killing people. So, and then Mickey Mouse, like the original Mickey Mouse though, Steamboat Willie.
Yeah, the Steamboat.
There's Mouse, a freaking horror movie of Steamboat Willie killing a bunch of people. So people will just, man, it's just hilarious when the amount of people that just can't think of new cool movies to do. They got to just take something that already exists and just fuck it up. Like, I don't know, just create something new. Like, I don't get it.
I honestly think like just the last, I think it started with like Star Wars Force Awakens, like the nostalgia. They found out like, oh, if we bring it back all these old actors and kind of reboot these things, like people are going to come in droves and like watch these movies. And I just feel like ever since then, it's just like everything has been nostalgia, retro. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're really like right now, it's like they're really trying to push like the 90s vibe. Like everything's like when we were kids, it was like 60s, 70s, but then now it's like 90s is like the 60s and the 50s or whatever, like when we were growing up. And it's bizarre because we lived it, and then you're like, wait a minute, that's not right. That's like a zillennial or Gen Z thinking what the 90s was like, compared to knowing what it was like.
A lot of reboots that have been happening lately. It's just ridiculous. And like, me, like as a writer, you write your own story, you go, man, like if I have the ability to write my own story and create a new world, like I'm sure other people can, but I understand why they do it. It's immediate moneymaker. Like if you just put out something that's already existed, like, like let's just say like the Willy Wonka movies, like there's been like since the original from the, obviously it was a book first, but from the early 70s, with Gene Wilder, I mean, there's been like 3 or 4 or 5 Willy Wonkas since, and they just keep putting. And same for like Addams Family, when I'm, Wednesday's now the big thing. It's like, oh my God, what, so it's I get it. I mean, it's easy to make money and stuff.
Yeah. So like, obviously you're not playing music anymore, or at least not at the moment, but like, what did you enjoy more? Did you enjoy like playing in a band, touring, or do you enjoy being like an artist more? Even though they're kind of similar, but different.
It's all really different. Like, as you probably know, when you're a musician, as you know, as a drummer, you're always out with people, and you're at the show, and there's the bars, and there's people in the crowd, and you're talking and you're always around people, and you're just like, it's insanity, and like you're backstage, and it's loud, and after the show you go get dinner with everybody. It's just you're always around people. When you're an artist like me and you, it's completely different. We're by ourselves. We're just in this like moment of quiet. Usually, at least for me, I don't have anybody in my office when I'm doing anything. So it's just like you're by yourself and you're just like writing, and it's completely different than being in a band. But I loved performing. That was my thing, like walking on stage. Like that's when I had the best times in my life, like performing. Touring is hit or miss. Like there's so much amazing things I saw on tour and people I met and the memories I'm going to have when I'm old. You know, I could tell my grandchildren, you know, I was, you know, went to Europe 7 times and I played Russia and I played blah, blah. And, you know, went to here and there and, you know, played in front of festival in front of like 70,000 people, you know, but that there's also a lot of bad things. Cause like you said, you're dealing with 5 other musicians who you have to like coexist with, and everybody's completely different. We all have a different mindset. Some are married, some are single, some are on drugs, some are not on drugs, some drink a lot, some don't drink. And then not only just the musicians you're with, you got to deal with like your roadies, your merch people, especially with I Am Ghost. Like, I mean, we had techs, and when we weren't touring, you had to deal with your management company, you had to deal with your agent, you had to deal, your management, your booking agent, your lawyers, your label. And then the label had 3 or 4 people that had different departments. And then you had to deal with, like I don't know if I said already, the merch company and dealing this and that. And it's just like, oh my God, there's just so many people like to just put this one little thing together. Whereas when we're artists, it's just us. It's just me. I'm solely responsible for Dear Mother Bones, and like you're solely responsible for your art piece or whatever design you're doing. And if it sucks, it's because we fucking fucked it up, you know. Or if it's really good, it's because we made it really good. Whereas the band, I mean, if we write a song and it's not very good, it could be a lot of issues. It could be, you know, the writing sucked, the lyrics suck, or the singing sucked, or the drumming sucked, or why didn't it sell good? Well, it could be the label didn't do this right, or this or that, or you know, there's so many different cogs in the machine so I do prefer being a writer artist because it's just so much more mellow now. I don't have to worry about waking up and okay, what content should I post today to get my band promoted? Like, I don't want to do that. Like, I'll post content like periodically, but I do it when I feel like it. I don't do it because I have to. I just do it because I want to, you know? So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there are days where I miss performing, and because I love that aspect of being in a band. But I think with me kind of doing album artwork and doing stuff for bands, and like I kind of like it fulfills me in the same way, not fully, but enough where I'm like satisfied. Because like if you go to a show, like, you know, when we met at Archer Nation show, and you guys played with them, you know, seeing your work like on stage and like, you know, just that's like, oh, okay. I mean, I kind of wish I was playing though, but you know, this will do.
I'm sure right now, I'm sure tonight, if me and you went down the Catalyst and I don't know, we were watching one of our buddies' band playing and it was a sold out show, we'd probably be like, dude, I miss playing. But then you kind of like, once the show's over and you get to go home and sleep in your own bed and shower and you get a paycheck every week and you're like, okay, this is why I don't play music, because there is cool things at the moment. That hour on stage is amazing, but everything else for me was just like blah. And especially like even on Epitaph, I mean, we were on tour buses a lot, but we also did a lot of like van tours, and people don't understand like the crap we would like play a show, run to the merch table, try to sell as much, and this is like at the height too, like slang as much merch as we can, pack up our shit, get back in the van, and then drive 15 hours through the night to the next show. And then arrive 3, 4 in the morning, 8 in the morning to whatever, Kansas City, get to our hotel, sleep for a few hours, get to load in at 2:00, and then redo everything over again. And you're just like, you're tired and you're hungry and you haven't taken a shower in 3 days and this and that. And you're kind of like, then you get on stage, you're like, oh, this is awesome. This is why I do it. Yeah. And then it goes back to being like 2 in the morning and you're driving through the fucking pitch black of Canada somewhere and you're like, where the fuck are we? You know, running out of gas soon, and you know, oh my God, why am I doing this? I miss my girlfriend, and you know, all this stuff. And then again, it's like a reaction, and you can play again, you play an awesome show, and you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. So it's crazy. Like the shows like re-energize you, and then it gets you just do enough to get to the next show.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I remember us going on. This was like the only tour we went on was like a little 2-week tour. We went down to Southern California, played LA and like Orange County, and then we kind of went up to like Sacramento. And I was actually visiting my sister. My sister was getting married in Alabama, so I flew from Alabama to LA. And then the guys picked me up in the van, and we like all went together, and it was like, this is gonna be so much fun. And then it was like second night, I was like, oh crap, like I did not enjoy touring. Even like playing the music was live in front of people was good, but I just was not enjoying it. And I ended up leaving the band like after the tour. I just quit mid-tour, but I stayed.
If you want to break up a band, the easiest way to break up a band is put them on a fucking shitty tour. That will break up 95% of bands will break up after. It's just it sucks. And it's funny because I being in bands my whole life, or half my life pretty much, I've seen I've done literally the worst tours where like no one shows. I played shows where literally no one showed up to arenas. So I've done everything, and I've slept in Walmart parking lots in a van, like literally not even on the seat, like on the floor between the seats, like my legs sticking out. Like we had to leave the door open. So in the middle of the night, so my legs can like, eating on $5 a day per diems, like legit, like how the fuck did we do it? Like, so, once you learn, you see like the worst to the best. So like even at the best, I have friends that are in some really, I don't want to say their band names, but I have some friends that are still doing it and killing it, and they're in some major large bands right now. And I'll hit them up like, hey man, you're killing it, you're living the dream. And they're like, yeah, whatever, man. Like you can tell they're all sad. I'm like, what's wrong, dude? He's like, I haven't seen my wife in 5 months, and the fucking guitarist I want to fucking kill, and this and that, and all this drama going on. I'm like, oh, so it's just like being in a fucking garage band. It's exactly the same thing. It's just a different like thing. I can't explain it. Like nothing changes. It's still that same aspect, which is hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're, freaking Metallica, who can just afford to be like, I'll play 2 shows and then have a week off.
What I'm talking about was just on tour with Metallica.
Oh, really? Okay.
How big they are. Like they're legit playing, or like legit shows. But again, there's no band, I don't care who you say, there is no band where everybody just, it's like all 5 members just like get along. Like, yeah, we're brothers, and you can never do, like, there's always drama. And I think it was like the singer of the Eagles said in an interview years ago, like every single band is just one show away from breaking up, like legit. And that's true, I think.
Yeah, for sure, man. Like 100%. Because
the tension,
we had
you can cut the tension with bands like that on tour. You can cut with you can't even cut with a knife. It's so, I remember those days, man.
Yeah, I remember like the infighting, like, because like, oh, Kieran sucks, we need to replace him, and then like no one would tell me, and I'll be like, what? Like, are you trying out drummers without me knowing? Like, what's going on? And then we would just shit talk each other like behind our backs, and it's just like, this is not healthy. This is not going to lead to anything good. And it just, at that point you're like, yeah,
especially when you're doing it for a living too, and like that's how you're like bread and butter. Like it's where all your money comes from. That's how you pay your rent. That's how you pay your phone bill, is like touring. And that's pretty much all. I mean, I still get residual checks from Epitaph sometimes, but I mean, not enough to like where I could pay any rent or pay bills. 99% of the time we made money to like pay all our bills was by touring and getting our guarantees each night. And then at the end of the tour, then splitting it. And it was so depressing because there was one time, one of the European tours it was crazy. We had at the end of the tour, and it wasn't even a long tour, we had over $100,000 in euros, like cash from all the merch we sold, $100,000. And we're like, how do we get this across the border? How do we go on a plane with $100,000 cash? We can't. We'll get flagged and get arrested. And so we had to like split it. Like one guy got 8,000, another guy, like we had a bunch of people on the tour, and we all like got it across. And then we got back from the tour. We're like, yeah, we have $100,000. We're rich. And then our manager's like, well, here's the bad news. And we all met. And he's like, you owe your merch company $25,000, or no, $35,000. You owe your management company. They get 10% of every show. Your booking agent is going to get 6% of every show. Don't forget, we had that thing happen, and you had to hire that lawyer. He's $15,000. You remember all the per diems you were getting on that tour? Well, that's all recoupable. You don't just get to keep that. all you know those cool hotels you're staying at every night. Well, that's all recoupable. You don't just get free fucking hotels. Like you gotta. That's so. By the time the tour was over and we paid back everything, fuck, dude, it was a month long.
You got a tree fitty.
Yeah, it was like legit like $3,000 a piece or something. It was like for 5 people. I was just like, oh my fucking god. Like later I found out the merch guy was making more money than me on that tour. He legit made almost twice as much than I did because he was getting a flat fee every week. I don't remember what it was, but it was like decent to be a merch guy. And merch guys are, they get paid pretty well. But then I was like, holy fuck, I'm the lead singer of this band, and my merch guy got like double my salary for this month. Like, what the fuck is going on? It's just the way it is. Like, that's actually the number one reason why we stopped using tour buses, because we couldn't. It was like, why are we paying $2,000 a day just for renting this bus? Like, we could just do this ourselves in a tour van, it's gonna suck a little more. We're not as cool riding up to the show in a tour bus, but fuck it, we want to be able to pay our rent this month, so let's not use the tour bus.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely like a lot of, I mean, even to this day, bands are struggling even more like than probably you were back in the day. But like, yeah, there's this misconception with like, oh yeah, you're signed, you're making money. It's like, nope, that's basically just give you, $100,000 and you have to pay that money back to the label. And then if
everything is recouped, doesn't matter. Yeah. The Lovers Requiem album, I found out, and it sucks because I didn't even know this. Like after the fact, our management didn't really tell us, but the producer Elvis Basquette, who's like a really famous producer, he's done everything from like Smashing Pumpkins to like Stone Temple Pilots and Ghost and all that other bands. But he's huge, and we used him for a month, and I think after the fact, he was like $150,000 or something. It was like crazy.
Oh wow!
So we spent. That wasn't even the budget to promote the album, and then later we found out that why aren't we getting like the album selling? Not like we weren't like Metallica like selling a shit ton of albums, but it was doing decent. The shows were getting bigger. Like, why aren't we making money? Like, why am I getting checks that are bigger? And they're like, well, because everything Epitaph paid for you need to pay them back first before you're going to see a dime. Right now, you're just receiving like the minimal they can give you. So, the music video we did for Our Friend Lazarus Sleeps, it was like over $60,000. Like, and I couldn't. And to this day, I really wish I was smarter because I was kind of stupid and I was awestruck. And I was just like, I'm signed. I have a management team. I'm going to let them do what they know, and I'm just going to like I'm going to do my own thing. And now I wish I would have been more a part of the equation and like ask more questions, because I never in a million years would have allowed a $60,000 video. There's no way. I would have been like, we're not spending $60,000 on a video. Are you kidding me? Like, we can do a legit nice video for like $5,000. Like, what are you talking about? Like,
yeah, I was actually just watching that video. You guys, your Requiem, what's the name of the song? It's the one with like little kid with the skull.
And Stones are lovely, bro. Yeah.
That was a cool video. Yeah, I was like, had a little beginnings, middle,
that
end
video
story.
Was like $3,000 total. Like legit. Like Tom Mary, who directed it, he's amazing. But everybody in the video was like work for free. I think we paid the kid, but we had to again show up. But but it was like $100 or something. Like, we paid him like $100 to do it, and like the food was like we paid ourselves, and all the costumes we just rented for the day, like, or just we might have had in our closets. Like, really, it's the only thing we had to pay for was the kid's little like tuxedo. The rest was all just like people showing up, like the little kids scene where they're all like pretending the wedding's going on. Those are just all our next door neighbors. Neighborhood kids. We just luckily when we asked the mom, can you just get these kids to show up, and she got like 15 kids to show up, and I couldn't believe it, and it was like perfect. Like
sweet.
Yeah.
All right, man.
So you do music video for cheap. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, you can find, especially nowadays, like I guarantee no one's spending $60,000 on these videos. They're like,
people's cell phones now have like iPhones. The brand new ones like have legit cameras that are almost like movie-esque quality. So
yeah,
you can shoot a whole video now on your phone, like legit.
All right, I ask all my guests this question. It's kind of like the last question I asked, but
Sure.
like what dream project would you love to work on if you had a choice that you
Ooh,
haven't already?
music or anything.
Art wise, or like doing artwork for say Metallica or or
Yeah.
AFI or I don't know.
Um, my goal right now is one day if my book ever could like gets when it comes out whenever it does come I can finish this artwork. Now that I'm back, it might be a while, but anyways, my dream is to like pitch it and get it. I do have still some movie contacts and industry contacts, and try to get it to like a movie or something, Netflix series or an HBO movie or something. I just that's my dream would be getting my novel like into the theaters, and you know maybe doing a series, limited series or whatever. But if I had a choice like to work with anybody, man, I wish he was still. I mean, I don't think Sam Keith even like does anything anymore. He's like my favorite artist. I just love and he's very like niche. Like he doesn't do a lot of stuff, and like he did like a lot of like recently he did like some Batman the Max crossovers, and I would love to work with him and do like a Steve Juliano, Sam Keith like crossover, like my character, like my art style mixed with his, and I don't know, that'd be really cool. But he doesn't really do a lot anymore. I don't know if he's semi-retired or not, but I've been following him since he did the Sandman back in the 80s. Like that was my like jam when
Oh,
I saw
he
the
did
Sandman.
Sandman, Sam Keith.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
He's the original artist of the Sandman series. So the early
I was
stuff.
I just know Matt the Max, like that's like what I've known him for. Yeah.
No, he's the original artist for that. So you
Okay.
look at some old Sandman comic books. It's like his early stuff too. But you could see the evolution of how he started and just got different. But yeah, that's what caught me was the Sandman and the graphic novels, and the covers were so awesome. That's what got me like going, what the hell is it? And I started looking and going, he just a lot of times in comic books, like the cover is so intricate and insane and awesome, but then you look inside and the artwork is more like basic, and it's nothing like the
Yeah.
cover. He was opposite. If his covers, and he looked in the art, and every page was like a cover. The amount of time he spent on each page, I don't even know how he did it. Like he had to have had a time limit. Like you said, like a normal artist penciler will take a day to pencil a page, and then it's usually another day to ink. But most artists, when they pencil or when they finish, they hand it off to the inkers. That's why they finish quickly in a month. But he did the inks, and he usually did the pencil, and he also usually wrote it. And so you're like, how the fuck did he do this? Did he just
Well,
work like
drugs,
19 hours?
cocaine.
Yeah, was he high on cocaine? Like that's the only way I could see how he did it. So, yeah.
Well, Steven, thank you so much, dude,
Yeah.
for doing this, man. I know you're probably super busy, and it's Saturday, and appreciate you taking the time. I'm going to be leaving a link to all your stuff, but if you want to give any shout outs, like let everybody know when your novel's coming out and when to look for that, go right ahead, man.
Yeah, just you can go to stevenjuliano.net and check out my official website, and the same link will send you there is also dearmotherbones.com. But that's for right now just my main site. It's kind of basic for right now because I can't share any of the. I sent you a few things, but there's other things I just can't share because I want people to buy the book and see things that they haven't seen before. So there's a lot of artwork that I can't post on that site. But check out that, and then hopefully the book will be released probably, I would say, to get an honest assessment, if probably next year, of like around maybe Halloween time next year will be a release date. Again, thank you for doing this interview, and it's cool to talk to other artists and musicians because a lot of times it's just like a podcaster who doesn't know what we go through. So it's cool to talk to an actual artist.
Yeah, for sure, dude. Yeah, I mean, I'm still I'm still obviously new to this kind of realm, but I'm kind of glad I've been doing this, and
Yeah.
learning a lot from you and other artists, and yeah, man, appreciate it, dude. But
I'll definitely, you know, post. I'll promo this for everybody. Make sure everybody gets, you know, watches it. And we'll go from there. But yeah, thank you so much, man. Because I just, the more people know about my book, the better, and it's anything helps. So I really appreciate it.